Hello and welcome all to Tales from the Time Traveler's Tavern. I will be your guide and navigator, Mr.E, taking you on this informative journey. Informative of what? We still don't know. But that's why I have had the good fortune to bring along with me the colorful commentary of our internet guru, my good friend Toast.
Butter is optional.
There you go. And to the other side, we have Private Snafu.
Good day, Mr.E. Good day, Toast.
Alright, now we're going to go down a traveling line of science fiction or science fiction and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, I need to know what time it is. Hey, look, I can read the giant clock over there. Okay, whatever. Then someone else had complained at one point in time about, well, I don't want to buy a watch because they're too expensive.
You can get a watch for less than $20.
The watch I'm currently wearing is $13. I know that because I'm on like my fourth or fifth one.
Is that the same type of one that fell in the toilet on you the one day?
Yes. I had to stop and think because my skin has eaten like 3 watches. I've had one that the band broke and fell in the toilet and I just took it up, tossed it right in the trash because there's not keeping that one. Same thing with the sunglasses that did that.
Oh.
Well, the toilet was clean.
Right.
But basically fell in, I went, you fished them out, went, nope, tossed them right in the trash. I know what was just in there.
Because you were in there.
But yeah, I've been using the same style of watch for a number of years. Because my brother had given me a watch. It was a really nice watch, and the back had corroded. And
have you considered talking to a dermatologist? Because you said you've had 3 watches get eaten through by your skin.
yeah, thing is, it's just salt.
Oh, so you're just too salty?
Yeah, I like salt.
That's why the deer keep running into your truck. They smell you!
Yes.
They like salt licks!
The deer are running in front of my vehicle because they want to lick me. Because that's not creepy or anything here. Though it does explain why they were staring at me when I walked by the group of them out on the one road here in town. I was out walking, there's like 4 of them there. I'm like, oh, I'll take a picture with my camera. Bring my camera up and all of them are staring at me. I'm like, click, I'm gonna keep moving now.
Did they look at you hungrily licking their lips?
No, but they were looking at me with that moment of, I don't know if they're gonna run at me or away from me.
You know, they do have somewhat of a disconcerting stare. Especially since 90% of the time that they look up at you, they're in the middle of chewing something.
I was just kind of, they have that look at you. You know, like they're sitting there going, I'm gonna eat you now. You could just see that in a Wild West movie, you know, the guy with the thing of tobacco,
right.
He's gonna spit and just stare at you like, I'm gonna shoot you now. And deer look at you the same way. Mm-hmm. That moment of, I'd shoot you, but I don't have thumbs, or a pistol, and I can't talk, so I don't know how you're hearing me.
Oh, it's a Disney film.
Kid Venison. And that's a joke from a different show.
Is it?
Oh yeah. If you want to find it, go to YouTube and look up Kid Venison.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a stupid joke.
Okay.
Which is why I remember it.
So, back to this.
And now, back to our program.
Yes. So we went through all that and play. And I'm literally reading off of this. That's what the next word was. It says, the teacher writes up stuff on the board, hands out textbooks, often...
I have never had a teacher hand out a textbook.
Really?
At least not since I got out of elementary school.
Fair. I mean, they kind of point you in the direction of where they're all stacked up and go get you one.
Well, besides that, I mean, like, I think maybe, like, you know, high school, they still, like, handed them out at class.
Right.
But it was the go get a book.
Right.
As soon as you get out of high school, it's that moment of, screw it, you know, you go get your own book. You know, you pay a lot of money for it. We'll give you 30 cents back.
Yeah. Was it 30 cents?
Actually, I do know someone who at one point in time, for their entire semester, they paid $500 for all of their books.
Right.
They went to turn them in at the end of the semester, and they were offered 10 cents back.
Wow.
Because all of the books were considered, well, both used and the old edition. Because a new edition was coming out the next year.
Oh.
Now, the funny part was the student had basically, they were like, I'm not going to sell that book back for that.
Right.
Next year rolls around, and people, you know, the new students, they bought the new book.
Uh-huh.
It's like I actually went and found someone who had the same class,
right.
Looked at their book.
Uh-huh.
They changed the cover, and they changed, like, one chapter. And it wasn't even an important chapter. It was a chapter that was never covered in the class.
And that's the thing, is that it's become such a scam. Mm-hmm. Even stuff like that, where you're required to have this textbook. Why?
Well, some classes it made sense. One of my classes actually was funny because it was my stats class.
Okay.
The professor we had literally wrote the book.
Okay.
Him and another guy had written the textbook.
Uh-huh.
They were on like the 4th or 5th edition. You had to go to the bookstore and buy a copy.
Uh-huh.
You paid like $40 for it. At the end of the year, you couldn't sell it back.
Why?
Because they made a new edition every year. The reason it's funny is they told you this right off the bat. Because every year, all of your worksheets were in the book. The entire class, you could honestly buy the book and never show up to class and still get an A in the class. Because everything you needed was in that book.
Okay.
That book was literally the class. They also had a thing where you could get extra credit points. It was like 1 extra credit point if you could find an error in the book that no one else had reported.
Okay.
That was their quality control setup. Was every year, students would scour the book just to see if there's an error they could find. Because again, every year someone would find something.
Uh-huh.
You know, whether it's just a typo or, you know, something that didn't quite line up. It's
Grammatical medical error.
Yeah, just a little something. And they're like, yeah, that was it. You know, they'd offer you an extra credit point for finding their errors, because it was also cheaper than actually hiring someone to double check everything. But it was actually one of those courses where, like I said, at the very beginning, they told you, you have to buy this book. You know, it's going to cost you $40, $50, whatever it was, and you will never get that money back. It's like, okay.
And that's the thing, though, is that, you know...
But this guy was at least upfront about it. There are other books, because I kept a whole bunch of mine, because there's no point in selling them back.
Right.
Where you can buy a book for $100, and they will offer you $5 for it, to turn around the next year and sell it as a used book for $80 to someone else.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, is that they not only actively screw at you, but they...
Well, not the same thing, but there's another class that I was in where a student was talking about the fact that they didn't have the book yet, because it was the first week. And the professor's like, why don't you have a book yet? You can just pick it up, you know, at the bookstore, you know, the campus bookstore. And he's like, well, I ordered mine on Amazon. Teacher's like, why? He's like, well, if I go to the bookstore, it's $100. On Amazon, he's like, I found the exact same copy, same edition, same everything for $10.
Yeah, can't argue with that one.
And the professor's like, well, you need the book to do this assignment. So the student's like, fine. Found another student, went, can I borrow your book?
Yeah.
Guy's like, sure. He's like, for $5. $5, there you go. Borrowed the book. Used it for that week.
Yep.
End of the time, had the kid the book back, had his own book,
Yep.
saved himself a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I can't sell it back to the bookstore, but how much were they going to offer me?
Right.
And that was just it.
They were going to offer you cents.
Had one guy, he actually went and he weighed his bag. He took all of his books, he weighed it, and it weighed like 90 pounds. And at the end of the day, they offered him $10. He's like, I paid a lot more than that for these books. And one of them, still shrink wrapped. The reason they gave him for why they were only going to offer him, you know, like a couple bucks was because it was used.
But it wasn't used if it's still shrink wrapped.
That was his point. Their point was, it left our store, it is now used.
Yeah. So basically, they've become a car lot.
Basically.
More than that, they've become a shady car lot.
Funny on that part, one of the guys I worked with said that what he would like to see in the future, he's like, I want to see every high school student have to spend a summer work in a used car lot. He's like, because it teaches you so many life lessons to have to work in a used car lot. He's like, because it taught him how to properly bargain. Because he's like, you know, if you just kind of go somewhere, people don't know how to haggle. They don't know how to bargain.
Right.
He's like, but he worked at a used car lot, so he had to learn how to bargain and how to talk with a salesman, which was also amusing because he's like, yeah, he's a car salesman. He's like, are kind of hard to work with. And he's like, and I should know, I used to be one. But yeah, another story he had that was actually really interesting was he was talking about how he went on a family vacation. Well, while they're out running on the family vacation, it got to the point where their car actually died. Like, literally just flat out died. So he's like, yeah. So he just told him, he's like, well, it's like, we're gonna get a new car.
Well, great, it is a bottomless closet.
Did you ever read the book House of Leaves?
Me? Him.
Anyone, really.
I have not.
House of Leaves is actually interesting. Recommended to you by a friend of ours because it's an interesting book. One of the things is they have a supposed section based off of a song called 5.5 Minute Hallway. There's a 5-minute hallway. Because the story is basically about a couple who buy a house. I think it's a couple of kids, but they buy a house, and the guy happens to notice the one day that he built a set of bookshelves in his alcove. The next day, there's an inch gap. And he's like, but I custom fit these. So then, after a bit of this, he then notices that, one of the sections that they're sitting there, right off of the living room, is a hallway leading to the kitchen. So what he does is he grabs a video camera, and he videotapes standing in the living room, walking for 5 minutes down this hallway, looking around the kitchen, stepping out the kitchen window, panning across the wall for like 3 steps, and then climbing in the living room window. So there's windows in the hallway that he passed through. So you figure he walks for 5 minutes down this hallway with windows, steps out, moves over one window, and is now in the living room. And that's the thing. The entire book is about how this house seems to be geographically relocating.
Like distorting space.
Yeah. And what it ends up being is after a little while, there's, a distortion, and now there's a closet in the living room where there was not a closet before. You open the door, and there's a staircase down to the basement. Except for it doesn't lead to the basement.
Where's it go?
It goes down. Basically, the guy goes down until he can't really see too much, because he goes down like 40 feet. He's like, it's too creepy. Goes back up. And that's just it. The rest of the book is because of all this other stuff that goes on. He actually gets people to come and mount an expedition into his basement, and they get lost. Because they take with them like 200 feet of rope, and they run out of rope.
Before they get to the bottom of the stairs?
Yeah. And that's just it. Because now they're down here, and they're like, well, it can't be that far. They finally reach the bottom, and they're like, okay, we're now in the bottom. Except for they can't see the ceiling, can't feel the ceiling, can't see the walls.
Did they bring flashlights, or...?
Yeah, but how far does a flashlight go?
I suppose maybe 75 feet at best.
And that's the thing that creeps out some of the people, is the fact that their flashlight doesn't show them any walls.
It shows them the stairs, I presume.
Well, just the ones ones that just came down, but that's just it. All you can see is that staircase. You can't see the walls, you can't see the ceiling. Basically, they're standing in a cavern that is like 100 feet wide, underneath the house that is sitting on bedrock, that has no caves in it.
All right, so
But like I said, it's an interesting story, also because if you actually take the book, there are sections of it that the only way to read it is to put your finger in the middle of the page and spin the book around.
I remember you talking to me about this book.
There's entire sections where the story, because the story is supposed to be a collection of other things. The guy talks about how he accidentally dropped a pot of ink, so there's actually an entire section of the book that is just black because he spilled ink on it. So the story gets up to a point, and then there's just like letters, a couple of spots, and then you actually come to the end of the page, and then you can pick up the story again. There's a page where you read the front, and it's like newspaper clippings. You turn the page, and the next page is the back of those newspaper clippings, where all the words are just printed backwards.
It's said to be an artist's dream to put together.
So you can actually hold it up and see straight through it.
All right, so before we get too far further, we'd like to announce the triumphant return of Private Snafu. Welcome back.
I'm here now.
It's okay, we got started without you.
Meh.
As well as a brief apparent visit.
Parents?
I was going to say a brief apparent visit.
Congratulations.
From the Amazing Toad. Welcome back.
Ribbit?
Actually, no. The reason we gave you the misnomer of the Amazing Toad was a callback to the comics, X-Men.
Ribbit?
Oh,
Now you get it?
yeah. I was thinking the storybooks. That would have fit
No,
too.
no.
Mr. Toad.
No. The Amazing Toad, yes. The character that nobody really likes. No.
I like Mr. Toad. Toad snack.
and he's joined...
Here's a wild ride.
And he's joined by, what should we call her? Chesty LaRue? No. If you had a misnomer in mind, by all means, say it. For now, we'll call you the unnamed visitor.
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. So, we were talking about, is stupidity subjective? That's what we started out on. Specifically in that regard, we were talking about our understanding of the word stupidity and our use of that word. Is it really down to an objective definition, or is it more of a subjective thing of, I think this person is stupid? And more often than not, what I have found in my own personal life is that, first off, I didn't examine this until I had been asked to by someone else. And I found it interesting, and I said, hey, that's something to talk about. But in addition to that, there's the fact that realistically, so many people will happily call someone or something stupid without being able to clearly identify why. Why they think it's stupid or why they can prove that it's stupid. An example I would give is our current commander-in-chief. But so we were reading off of a blog here. I won't get into the necessity of who it is because we've already covered that. But
that's just sad.
You've been reading Twitter.
yeah, don't do that. Reading Twitter is like reading the news these days. It's just bad. Let's see here.
All news is a lie. It's all fake.
Especially on Fox.
Oh, come on.
I've actively seen a bumper sticker that says, "Do you want to stop hearing crazy voices? Stop watching Fox News."
And that was an episode of The Simpsons brought to you by Fox.
Matt grinning. Yes. May his dignity rest in peace. So let's see here. Where was I at? Yes. Often the teacher is incapable of answering a lot of the questions that he/she is posed. The questions that they are offered by students. This shows that the source of the facts are so far removed from the child that the teacher becomes almost a priest. They dish out the facts that are required for passing the test, much like a priest dishing out sermons from the Bible. The teacher even has a pulpit, the desk in which they sit behind.
Which is funny, because I don't see too many teachers these days who actually sit behind their desk when they're actually teaching.
Oh no, by no means. In fact, they only do that when there are no students in their class that I've seen. My mother, who was a teacher, I never once saw her sit behind her desk other than when her classroom was empty.
I think some of that is because, one, there's a lot of people still see that as the thing of the teacher behind their desk, whether it's metaphorical or not.
Right.
But even then, I mean, it also depends on where you are, because it's a lot of, well, at least some of the schools that I've seen are going more these days to teachers who actually understand the stuff that they're teaching.
Right.
As opposed to just recital.
Almost muscle memory from what they're doing.
Yeah, most of them, it's the, what the book says is what the book says.
Right.
But you get more of them these days that are actually trying to get people to think more. I think some of it's because plenty of people don't want to think.
Well, actually, I was reading something interesting involving teachers with the upcoming election. When the election was still upcoming, saying that a lot of them, in some regards, have been talked to by higher-ups in the education system, saying, don't talk to the students about what your belief is or who you're going to vote for unless asked. Which is, fair enough. But there were a lot of teachers who actively said, I would never even bring it up because of the fact that I don't want to influence their decisions.
Even though the students can't vote.
They're talking about the students who are of age to vote.
So you're talking college students?
No, I'm talking about end-of-term high school students. Very often, they are just coming of age.
I don't know about very often.
Often enough.
There's a couple of 5-year students, and
No, I went to like a 3,000 student high school, and say maybe
I voted in high school.
10% were able to vote, but you graduated late, babe.
For mine, the majority of the students, of my class and in my high school, the majority of them weren't 18 until like the last couple of days of the semester.
I was just 18 at the nearest election.
Yeah, see, 'cause like I said, for most of the people I knew, they may have been 18 for the election, but they were graduating like that May or that June.
Right, and that's what it would have been for me had I not gone a different route.
Right, but even then, I mean, I don't want to say talking to them before then wouldn't have mattered, but kind of. Because, all through college, really, we had some professors who were very open about their beliefs on stuff, but it was never a thing of, well, you have to vote this. It's always this is what I believe, you go do your own thing. Yeah, and that's what you got, where you had a lot of people where it's go vote. I'd like to see you vote this way, but you have to make your own decision.
Okay, so there was that.
Can I ask you guys a question?
What's up?
You guys are talking about elections and stuff. I know in my high school, like our economics class had us he brought in the information of what they were voting on, and we talked about how it was worded. Did you guys were you guys trained at all in any way to objectively read a ballot so you could vote? Because sometimes voting no means yes.
Right. Actually, before they had, from federal level gone across the board with state rights, it is. All right, well, on that note of fact, validation, and verification, any other shuns we should add to that? Parting words, Snafu?
I don't know. It's above my pay grade.
Okay, and Toast?
I can't believe it's not butter.
All right, then. Once again, this has been your navigator and guide, Mr. E. Thank you for joining Tales from the Time Traveler's Tavern. So that's it.
You've got